Matthew Dix.
You're next. Thank you. Thank you. I'm walking down a hallway yesterday in the mathematics building at MIT. It's a long hallway. They call it the infinite hallway because it's a building full of mathematical nerds. And they really are nerds. It's a building full of geniuses. And it's really odd to be in a building where objectively you know you are the stupidest person in the building right now. But I was. I'm not an MIT student or a faculty member. I was just there that day to teach people storytelling, people who put rockets in space and move atoms at a subatomic level. I was talking to geniuses, and I felt like an idiot. I was in classrooms where the chalkboards were covered with these equations, but none of the equations had numbers in them. Like there's a point in math, I guess, where numbers just fall away. And there's just squiggles that I don't understand. It's incredible. I was walking down this hallway and I walked past these two guys, 20-somethings, students, and I hear them talking. And one of them saying, well, if you take 4.5 and you divide it by the differential, then you're going to take the variable. And that's what they're talking about. I thought like in a movie at MIT, that's what they would be talking about, but it's in real life. And it was yesterday. It was opening day at Fenway and the last day of the NCAA tournament. And they were talking about math. And I just knew I didn't belong. And it was just like when I went to college. I got to college late in life. I started when I was 24. And I was with a bunch of really smart people, like 18 and 19 and 20-year-olds who had done high school right and gotten into college the real way. And when I went to college, at the same time, I was managing a McDonald's restaurant full time. And I had just been homeless for a period of time, and I had been in jail. And I arrived on this beautiful, pristine campus with these geniuses. And I just felt like I never belonged. I would see signs on the walls for frat parties that I knew I would not be invited to. And I would hear them talk about places to go on campus that I couldn't get to because I had to go worry about whether the fryer later was working properly. And I never told anyone who I went to college with this truth about me. I just thought they would never want to know. It was an imposter situation there as well. And so I'm walking down this hallway of geniuses, and I'm going to the bathroom. I just finished my workshop. I gave everybody a break. I open the door to the bathroom. I walk in. I'm 6 steps in when I look up, and I see there's 3 women at the sink. And there's another one in the stall. I can hear her peeing. And the looks on their faces tell me this is not a gender-neutral restroom. And so I've walked into the women's room in the mathematical building at MIT. And so I apologize and slink out. I close the door. I see the men's room. It's clearly marked. It's right there. I look to see if the sign on the women's room door was marked. It was. Like, I can't even read at this place. So I go into the men's room. It's 8 urinals. Nobody else is in the room. So I choose urinal number 2. I step up to it. I start doing my business. I hear a guy walk in behind me a second later, and then he sidles up to the urinal right next to me, which is weird. If you don't use urinals, it's weird. If there's 8 guys, sure, we'll all get close and we'll pee. But if there's only one of us and there's 8, you just shouldn't bring exposed penises that close if it's not necessary. We don't need to cuddle while we pee. And I'm thinking, is this like a power move? Is he trying to like dominate me? Or is he just weird? Like, is he socially awkward and he doesn't understand how restrooms work? And then I wondered, is this my hang up? Like, do I have a problem? Do I have insecurity that I don't know about and I need to deal with? All of that goes through my head while I'm peeing. And then I wash my hands and I leave without even seeing the guy. And I go back to my workshop. And as I walk in, it occurs to me, I was just teaching the geniuses before I left that we should find small moments in our lives to tell stories about. Those are the best ones to tell. And it occurs to me, I just had 2 small moments. They're not really worth the stage, but I'll share them. It's a good example. And so I do. When all the geniuses sit down, I tell them about how I plowed into the women's restroom and I'm an idiot. And then I tell them about how this crazy person stood next to me in the men's room like a socially awkward, overly aggressive fool, and how it got in my head while I was trying to do something else. And then one of the geniuses raises his hand and he says, that was me in the restroom. And I go, oh, God. And he's been in front of me the whole time. For an hour, I've been talking to this guy, and he was the guy next to me. He's a faculty member. He's a genius. And so I start to apologize, and he says, no, hold on. He says, I had a moment too. He said, I walked into that restroom in a fog. I was thinking about what you had just talked about, and I just went up to a urinal, and I started using it, and then I thought, oh, my God, why did I choose this one? And then he looked, and he said, I looked, and I saw it was you. He said, oh, my God, it's Matt the storyteller. What do I do? What do you do when you're standing next to a storyteller who's peeing next to you? He said, I had that moment, too. And I think, oh, my God, he's a genius, but he's just a guy who has weird urinal moments like I do. And his name is Tom. Later on, he gives me a tour of the nanotech facility. He gives me nanotech swag in a bag to bring home to my kids. He offers me to tour MIT the next time with my family when we come back. And I start to think, maybe I did have a hang up, but it was back in college when I didn't want to tell anyone that I was different than them. Like maybe if I had told them I'm a manager at McDonald's, they wouldn't have thought anything of it. Maybe they would have thought well of it. And maybe if I had told them I was homeless before I showed up to college, they wouldn't have judged me. Like maybe I have been thinking that these people are more than people. Like they're geniuses. I am not smarter than anyone at MIT, but maybe they're not better than me too. Maybe people are just people. And maybe I have a lot to learn. Thank you.
Matthew Dick.